Welcome everybody out there. The times they are changing, especially in the automotive industry. Today we're almost exclusively talking about trends that weren't even a real thing 10 years ago. Electric mobility, connectivity, autonomous driving. And as the automotive industry is one of BASF's biggest customer industries, I'm happy to have two experts with me here today. First is Ragnar Xalter and Ragnar Stoll from BASF's Performance Materials division. Ragnar, I mentioned some of the trends. What trends does BASF see specifically in this environment?
Yeah, we see overall that the automotive interior is moving into the focus of the industry. The interior recognition is becoming more and more the identification point for the brands. And this, of course, demands for high quality materials in the interior, not only in terms of the visual experience that we have, but also in terms of the haptic experience.
So this is something that has changed because in former times it was clearly the exterior of a car that defined the brand, right?
That is true. But as I mentioned, we recognize that it is moving into the interior of the car because the industry realized that you spend much more time inside of the car rather than looking at your car from the outside. And this reflects the importance of the interior. Also keep in mind that a lot of the way how you interact with the car is changing. Connectivity aspects are moving into focus. And that, of course, causes that you pay more attention maybe to the details of the interior.
So how does BASF approach this topic of a changing car interior with new materials, new solutions?
Yeah, we have our expert teams in the R&D departments. They are the material experts, and of course we work closely with our customers, developing solutions fitting their market needs.
Can you mention some of the materials, Rainer? I mean, you're a product developer and you also brought some samples here. What's so special about it?
Well, last but not least, if you're talking about trends, we should also mention one major trend that has come up recently. That's the trend of sustainability. So we try to address also this by our R&D activities. For example, just a few years ago, we launched Ultramid Deep Gloss for piano black surfaces in the car interior, which is intrinsically very resistant, and the coating step can be skipped. So we have a favorable EHS profile, we have lower emissions, and also the trend of recyclability is addressed by that, because we think if the OEMs and the tiers will have to be able to meet their increasing recycling quotes that they set themselves nowadays, and that means that the trend will have to go away from multi-material composite solutions more to single material solutions, because that enhances the recyclability. On the other hand, we have to keep in mind that if one single material has to combine all the properties of the part in itself, they can be even contradictory. This is very demanding for the material development. So we do not only have to consider the mechanical properties, we also have to consider surface aesthetics at the same time. Also durability during the lifetime, during daily use. And last but not least, still the parts have to be producible in an easy and economic manner.
Of course, yeah. So you have to bring all these aspects together. You mentioned surface quality also and durability. I mean, there are other industries other than the automotive industry where materials that offer exactly those specifics are already in use. Can you mention some of those?
Oh yeah, that's a good point, Richard. Thank you. BASF has been offering surface-improved structural materials for almost a decade to the furniture industry. So as you can see here with those examples on the table, standard polyamide with glass fiber reinforcement doesn't look very nice. So you can see a lot of glass fiber turbulences appearing on the surface. And we managed by our formulation expertise and a lot of efforts to make these turbulences almost disappear. So you see it's much more shiny and deeper black. So by this means we were able to offer materials that are structurally very well resistant and still at the same time offer superior surface aesthetics. So they can be used for chair legs, for example, or for seat frames.
Okay. How big is the push from BASF customers for materials that offer these characteristics, and are there already some projects going on with customers?
Yes, we have ongoing projects with customers, and as I've realized, the interior design is changing overall. We see a trend towards a very clearly structured interior with a lot of straightforward design elements. You have long, flat structures, and for instance, air vent lamellars are getting longer and longer, and the material that we talk about, the surface-enhanced Ultramid crates we recently developed, are ideally suited to make those parts which are in the visible area of the interior, and they combine a good structural integrity, good mechanical performance with a pleasant surface appearance.
And with the sustainability element, I guess this is also, automotive manufacturers won't just ask more, nowadays for nice surface or good looks, they want something more, right?
That's right. So there comes a third point into play besides mechanics and surface. So this is then the topic of VOC emissions, which has become increasingly relevant in the automotive interior. So the OEM regulations, they're getting stricter and stricter in this respect, and OEMs are watching this field more and more closely. So we as material supplier need to take care for this trend, and that's why we further developed those surface improved grades that we originally developed for the furniture industry, to be able to meet also the most stringent OEM requirements with respect to VOC emissions.
Okay. So I take from you that these materials for the automotive industry, the surface improved ones, are ready for launch, available already?
Yes, we have sample quantities available. Anytime we want to do customer trials, we're ready to do this.
Mm-hmm. Ragnar, I'd like to ask you, as a developing part here, so to say, what was the biggest challenge in terms also of the formulation, the chemistry behind, in combining all of these different aspects in one material?
But of course, I cannot tell you all the tricks of our toolbox, but
I wouldn't understand them.
But to answer your question, the major challenge was really to have the combination of the improved surface together with the low VOC emissions. So far, it has only been possible to address one of those two properties. So the real challenge was to combine these two properties, especially for dark colors and for black. This has not been possible so far.
And we received very positive feedback from first trials where it was possible to mold real parts with a more than acceptable surface quality.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If I may add, it's not only textured surfaces that can be produced, what would be typically done with standard PSX with glass fibers, but we can also produce now smooth surfaces with a quite good gloss. That's what the customer was most excited about. That was the feedback after the trial, that a part which contained both textured and smooth surfaces, that the smooth surface looked especially nice and had a good gloss without appearance of glass fibers.
Okay. Is there any difference in processing these kinds of materials? So do the customers have to, change their process?
No, not really. So they are processable actually under standard conditions. So there's not much that the producer has to take care for in the processing step.
I'd say these are the typical adjustments that you have to make if you put a new material on the machine.
Gentlemen, thanks a lot for the insights into the car interior of the future. Everybody who wants to learn more about BASF's offering for the car interior of the future is, of course, welcome to visit our blog at www.basf.com/car-interior. You will find success stories, application stories, and a lot of knowledge on this topic. And I also like to invite you to join the chat with Ragnar and Ragnar and a couple of other colleagues on these interesting fields. Challenge us, ask your questions, go on this journey together with us.
BASF. We create chemistry.